Today we are going to continue working with combining like terms in that lesson 3.1, and we're going to talk about expanding and simplifying expressions. Okay, so the very first thing we want to start off with is identifying the terms in the following expressions, because I want us to remember what a term is. Okay, so one term in this expression would be 5x. Terms are those parts of the expression that are separated with addition or subtraction. Okay, so if you know what terms are, I want you to pause this video, list out your terms, and then resume the video to check. If you're not so sure, just hang in here with me. Okay, so our first term in this expression is 5x. Our next term would be x. Okay, one thing that we haven't talked about yet is when there's a subtraction sign, we keep that subtraction sign with the term that it comes in front of. So this is not just going to be a 5, it's going to be a minus 5. In examples we've done in class, we've only used positive numbers because the first time I wanted you to see it, I wanted it to be a little easier. But now that this is our second day working with this, I do want to introduce to you that if there's a subtraction sign in front of a number, this is not just a 5, it's a minus 5. Okay, whereas a plus x is the same thing as x. Positive x doesn't need a plus or minus in front of it. Okay, positive x is just x, whereas a minus x is technically a negative. A minus 5 is technically a negative 5, so we need to keep that minus there with it. Okay, so then our next term would actually be a negative 3y. Next term would be x. Next term would be 5y. Next term would be 15. Okay, the only new information to us here is just that the subtraction sign comes with the term that it's in front of. Okay, so a minus 3y is a negative 3y is a term. Okay, we're going to talk about what terms are like, and I kind of talked about this yesterday. Okay, the first thing I said is that they have to have the same variable. Now remember, a variable are the letters. So having the same letter makes a term alike, but they could have the same letter and they're still not like terms. Okay, and that's because the second thing I mentioned was that they have to have the same exponent. Okay, and remember, exponents are those little numbers. So if it's an x squared, that's going to be different than just an x. Okay, and let's remember x squared means x times x. It's this thing that's being squared times itself this many times. So x squared is x times x. Okay, so now let's sort our like terms. Okay, so our first term is a 5x. We're going to sort all of our x terms in here. Okay, 5x. Then we have an x. Then I'm going through to look for any other x's, and I have one more just plain x. All right, then I have a minus 5. A minus 5 is our constant. It does not have a letter. And the other constant's a 15. It does not have a letter. Constants don't have a variable with them. Remember? Okay. Then we have a negative 3y, minus 3y, and the other y's we have a 5y. Okay, so we just combined our like terms. Now we didn't add them together, subtract them, we just sorted them. Okay, down below in the next two examples, and if you felt confident from the lesson we had on combining like terms, I want you to pause the video and try these on your own because we did go over these types of examples. But if you're still not understanding, absolutely follow along. But if you are, pause the video and then just check. So here we have a 2x plus a 3x. So we have a 2x plus a 3x, no other x's, so 2x plus 3x gives me 5x. Okay, then I have a plus y plus 7y. Now remember, this plus y is a 1y. Remember, the number in front of this y is a 1. So 1y plus 7y gives us 8y. Okay. Number 2. We have 10z squared. They have to have the same letter, same exponent. So 10z squared is not a like term to 3z. So 10z squared, looking for more z squareds, plus 2z squared. And those are my only z squared. So 10z squared plus 2z squared is 12z squared. I like to write my z's with that little line in between my top and bottom lines because then it doesn't look like a 2. Notice how my 2 could look very similar to that z. Then I have a plus 3z and a minus z. Remember, this minus z is minus 1z. So 3z minus 1z is 2z. Okay, just a little review. All right, now we're going to work on that simplifying and expanding expressions. Okay, so this whole first top of the page is going to be all simplifying expressions. Okay, at the very top we're going to be simplifying it using multiplication. At the bottom we're going to be simplifying it using exponents. Okay, in each situation I'm going to start off with just numbers because we're used to working with numbers. And then we'll throw in some letters because that is what our 6th grade standard tells us we need to know how to do. All right, so here we have 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. We want to rewrite that expression using a multiplication. Okay, so if we have 4 being added together 4 times, we could add 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 to get 16, or you could just do 4 times 4. Okay, there's a star. 4 times 4, because there's 4 4s being added together. Okay, so if we have b plus b plus b plus b, we have 4 b's being added together, so we can simplify this to 4 times b. Now remember, with multiplication, we don't have to write that times sign, that multiplication sign, when it's with a number next to a letter. Okay, so we can simplify that even further down to 4b, because 4b means 4 times b. We don't have to write that multiplication symbol in there. Here we have y plus y plus y. We have 3 y's being added together, so we could do 3 times y, which can be simplified to 3y. Remember, we don't need that multiplication sign in there. Z plus z plus z can be written as 3 times z, or just 3z without that multiplication sign. Here we have y plus y plus y. Now we can combine those y plus y plus y's to 3y. But then we have some z's. We have z plus z plus z. We can combine those z's to 3z, because there's 3 of them being added together. And then we would just, since this is an adder here, we would add them together. Number 10, I want to change a little bit. I want to make this an h squared. Okay, so it's 12 times, here, let me just rewrite it. 12 times h squared. Okay, and I want to show you that 12 times h squared looks super fancy, but all we're going to do is take that multiplication sign out, and it's just 12h squared. We don't need a multiplication sign between a number and a letter. It's always implied that it's multiplication. Okay, so that is one way that we simplify expressions, is by using multiplication when we are adding things together. Okay. Now we're going to be simplifying them using exponents, because we are no longer adding these things together, we're multiplying them together. And let's remember back to when we learned about exponents. If we have like 4 squared, 4 is the number being multiplied, and it's being multiplied twice. So 4 squared does not mean 4 times 2, it means 4 times 4. Okay, so 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 would be 4 being multiplied 4 times. We would simplify it to 4 to the 4th. Okay, we already learned how to do that. Now we have some letters, we have some algebra. Okay, same exact idea. B times B times B times B. We have B, which is being multiplied, and it's being multiplied 4 times, B to the 4th. If you're catching on, pause the video and try these next couple on your own, and then just resume to check it. Here we have H times H times H. We have H being multiplied 3 times, so H to the 3rd power, or H cubed. Here we have 12 times H times H times H. Well, we already just said H times H times H is H to the 3rd. So here we have 12 times H to the 3rd, which is not completely simplified because we can drop out that multiplication sign. So that can just become 12H to the third. We don't need that multiplication sign between a number and a letter. It's always implied or assumed. Okay, so that was how we can simplify expressions. Unsimplifying expressions is called expanding. Okay, and we can expand expressions by doing the opposite. If we're given something that looks like this, we can undo it to make it look back to an expanded expression like this. Okay, so 2b is our simplified term. What it means is 2 times b. The only way we can unsimplify or expand this is just by putting that multiplication sign back in. 5x squared means 5 times, and then x squared means x times x. Okay, 5 times x times x. If you're catching on, I would like you to pause the video and try this last one on your own. Then just resume to check. Here we have x times y. Even when we have letters next to each other, we assume it's multiplication. It's always multiplication. So we have x times y cubed, which is y times y times y. And that's how we would unsimplify expressions. Okay. Take some time, write a summary. We haven't written one of these in a little while. So write a summary on what you learned today. Our learning target was I can combine like terms. So maybe explain to me how you can combine like terms. What are the 2 things, and you can look back to the front page if you need to, that you need in order to combine terms. There's 2 things that make them alike.